Welcome back to Doc Sports Podcast. Today is Thursday, July 19th, 2012, and this is episode 58 of Doc's Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Ferringo, and thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to join me. I'm sure that your first thought is, welcome back. I've never seen or heard of this before, anywhere on your site. Well, what are you talking about? Actually, we have to get in the Wayback Machine, and back in 2006 and 2007, before podcasting was cool, or, not cool. I don't know if podcasting is ever cool or ever going to be cool, but let's say before it was more prevalent than it is now, I used to do a podcast for Doc Sports. It was a blast, and it was going really well, and people really enjoyed it, but then something slightly unforeseen happened, and that is my wife and I had our first child. And for those of you who have kids, who have young children especially, no explanation needed, I'm sure. For the rest of you, let's just say I didn't have as much time as I had prior to having children. So one of the things that got cut was the podcast, and that was that. But, now I'm dusting it out of mothballs and hoping to get back into it. And I'm in a place where I'm hoping that it'll be a regular feature of mine on Doc Sports and on YouTube and in iTunes. So that's what we're shooting for, and that is what I am very excited about. So I'm sure the first question is, what are we going to talk about? What is Doc Sports Podcast going to be all about? And that's a great question, and the answer is, I don't know. I really can't say. In terms of format and how we're going to go about things, I figure that we're just going to wing it, and we will just figure things out as we go along. Some things will work, some things won't, and we're just going to basically go with it and see what happens and see where it takes us. Mainly, I'm just going to talk about gambling, obviously, and sports. We'll discuss some things about my plays, about plays in general, just about betting in general, some betting strategies, things like that. Some things that I'm looking at, different teams, different sports, different games, and how I kind of break those things down. Mix in some industry news. I'm sure we'll do some Doc's house cleaning as well, talk about some of the things that we have going on at Doc Sports on the mothership. And I will also have on some of the other handicappers. That's something that I used to feature and used to do on the old podcast, is that I would have people on for interviews and appearances and things like that. And then this way it gives you an opportunity to not only get a little bit better idea about myself and what we have going on at Docs, but some of the other guys, some of their views and some of their personalities, and get an idea of who they are and what they are all about, which a lot of people liked. So that's that. And, my main goal, if there's a goal for this podcast, I guess it's that it'll become a resource for the listeners and just be a tool that can somewhat help, clients, visitors, people, just help them with their own plays, with their own wagers, with their own gambling success, and basically with their own strategy when it comes to gambling. This is something that I love. This is my chosen profession. This is what I do. This is how I pay my bills and make my living, but it's also something that I love. Sports and betting is a big part of who I am, and I love it. I love talking about it. I love really getting in depth about it. I really like the numbers-based market analysis, kind of nuts and bolts, dorky mathematics side of gambling. That stuff always fascinates me. Systems players and just systems in general. I love those mathematically based formulas when it comes to gambling. So hopefully we'll touch on some of that. And I'm just a big sports guy. I always have had kind of a different approach to it. I just love analyzing sports and talking about sports. Me and all my friends, just like I'm sure you and all your friends, that's how we spend a overwhelming majority of our time, is arguing about sports, about this and that, and who's better and who's not. And I really like getting into being able to separate the fact from fiction when it comes to certain players and certain teams. And in a lot of ways, that's what gambling is all about. It's performance versus expected value. basically. So how you get good at that is being able to discern who's overrated, who's underrated, whether it's a pitcher in baseball betting or a team in college football, things like that. So that's going to be kind of the stuff that I talk about. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet, but I have to warn you, I'm sure you're already getting an idea, I'm kind of a talker. I'm a bit of a babbler, and I'm basically the anti-Hemingway, I guess you could call it. There'll be lots of tangents, and there will be, again, lots of babbling, basically. So I'll try and keep it as short as I can. I know you people have other things to do with your lives as well, but, we'll see. Again, we'll just kind of see where it takes us. In the meantime, if you have topics that you would like to be discussed, if you have questions for myself or some of the other handicappers, you will be able to email them to podcast@docsports.com. It's podcast@docsports.com. I don't know that email is set up yet. I was talking to our tech guy about that, and that should be set up in the next week or so. In the meantime, if you have something absolutely pressing, you can email it to service@docsports.com. That's our main customer service email, and they will forward it on to me. Just put the word podcast in the heading, and again, if you have questions, comments, issues, just go ahead and send it that way. I'd like this to be as interactive as possible. I'm not going to be, crazy AM radio DJ that's taking calls, but I would like this to be as interactive as possible. Like I said, I want it to be a resource. I want it to be something useful and informative for you guys. So yeah, that's kind of it. So I'm not 100% sure, like I said, what the format will be or exactly what this will evolve or, maybe even devolve into. But one thing I can tell you that it won't be. All right, there's one thing that I can promise you. This podcast isn't going to become my personal soapbox. This isn't going to be my outlet to sit here and talk about, how great I am and how amazing of a handicapper I am and just how great things are. That's just not me. That's really just not my style at all. That's not my approach to betting. That's not my approach to my career. There's more than enough chest beaters out there that want to talk about how awesome they are, what an amazing handicapper they are, and just how much they win and how much money they make and what a great lifestyle they have. But that's not my thing. That's just not how I approach it. I'm sure things are going well. I'll mention that things are going well. I'm sure we'll talk about things like lucky wins and winning streaks, and we'll also talk about bad beats and losing streaks. But, one thing that I'm not going to turn this into is a place where I'm just, pissing and moaning if I had a losing day and making excuses and this and that. And I'm not going to turn this into a megaphone for me to talk about how amazing I am when things are going well and I'm winning. So, you're not going to have to worry about that. If people want to know about the streaks I'm on, the things I have going on, that's kind of what the website's for. And I'm sure you roll your eyes and say, oh, yeah, sure. He doesn't want to talk about how great he is. Just look at his page. That's all he's talking about is this winner and that winner. Well, it's, they're two different things. And like I said, over the course of this podcast, I think you'll get to know me a little bit better and get a little bit of a better idea of who I am and kind of what I'm all about. And I think that will come out. And basically, I'm not that interesting, to be honest with you. And there's a lot more to gambling than just my little, narrow world and my little bubble of what my plays are and what I have going on. There's a lot more interesting things to talk about. So, that's what I'm hoping to get into. And I'm sure your next question is, well, Bobby, how often can we expect these informative yet entertaining podcasts? Again, unfortunately, the answer is I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to say starting off that I'm shooting for 3 times a week with this. My goal is to do it about 4 or 5 days a week, but I don't want to sit here and promise that and then not be able to deliver on that because of the amount of time that it'll take up. Throughout the fall and winter, Monday and Friday are going to be pretty much definite. So those are good days in my workflow, and I will definitely have one each Monday and Friday. And in the fall and winter, I can pretty much guarantee you that I'm not going to have one of these on Thursday. Anyone that has bought picks from us before knows that Thursday is the day that we release our football selections, and Thursdays are insane for me. I basically go into seclusion for 24 hours from friends, family, and civilization, and everything is all about my picks and what bets I'm going to place for that coming weekend. So Thursday's probably going to be out. So that leaves Tuesday and Wednesday. I'd like to be able to do it on both days, but to start out, I'm going to say that I'm going to do one either Tuesday or Wednesday. That way we set the expectation level low, and when we surpass that, everyone is happy. So I can also say that I won't have any podcasts over the weekend. Believe me, I already have to do enough work on the weekends, and if I was to take on any more, then my wife will be heading straight to the divorce lawyer, I'm sure. I have other interests and a life outside of gambling and my work. It's tough to separate the two sometimes, but no, weekends are family time, and there's enough other stuff going on with football and college basketball and stuff like that. So there won't be any podcasts on the weekends either. So that's that. So that's where we're at. I am very happy to be back. I am excited to be back. I will have a show again tomorrow. We'll probably talk a little bit of baseball, talk about some weekend series. We've had a week in the post All-Star break, and you're starting to get a better sense of who teams really are and who they're going to be down the stretch. So we'll talk a little baseball, and also my first NFL power rankings of the 2012 season will be coming out and will be posted at DocSports.com. I'm not sure if they got posted today or if my editor will have them up tomorrow, but those will be out. Maybe we'll touch on those a little bit tomorrow as well. But I may just wait till Monday and just really get into that. You can expect, I know that we are neck deep in baseball season right now, and that's really all we have to bet and to play, in the immediate future. But there's going to be a lot of football talked on this show over the next few weeks, because I've already not started to make that transition, but let's just say that my days are getting longer, my hours are getting longer. There's a lot of football research that I'm already doing. You don't just pick up the sport at the end of August or early September and make money. It's no different than the players. For bettors, for handicappers, for gamblers, the work that you do now is what pays off in October, November, December, and beyond. So I am already into that, and I'm also very excited about this season. So those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about in the next couple of shows. So that's it for today. Thank you again for taking the time. Check back tomorrow, and in the meantime, carpe diem and good luck.